Witch Trials Weekly, Video 20, May the 27th to June the 2nd, 1692. The court of Oyer and Terminer is assembled.
On May 27th, Governor William Phips established the special court of Oyer and Terminer, which means to hear and determine. This court would apply the law and custom of England to deal with crimes in Suffolk, Essex, and Middlesex counties. Lieutenant Governor William Stoughton was to be Chief Justice, presiding over 8 interchangeable magistrates, including Hathorne, Corwin, Sewell, and Gedney. The judges were generally merchants and wealthy landowners. Judge Corwin's 25-year-old nephew, George, became the sheriff of Essex County. On May 31st saw a full day of examinations in the Salem Village Meeting House. But observers of the day's proceedings felt something was alarmingly different from other witch trials and would later claim, "I have beheld most strange things, scarce credible, but to the spectators. And also, I wondered at what I saw, but how to judge and conclude I am at a loss." Hathorne and Corwin oversaw the examinations of Captain John Alden, Elizabeth Howe, Martha Carrier, Wilmot Reed, Sarah Rice, Mary Tooth Aker and her daughter, William Proctor, son of John and Elizabeth Proctor, and Captain John Flood. Philip English, who had spent the previous month hiding at a friend's home in Boston, was also examined and held for trial. Reverend Paris was present to take notes. Captain John Alden, a former seafaring profiteer who was not well liked, thought the girls were wenches who played their juggling tricks, falling down, crying out, and staring in people's faces. When urged to confess and give glory to God, Alden replied that not confessing to a lie would give glory to God, and challenged anyone to bring real evidence against him. When Alden looked at his accusers, they fell into convulsions. He then glared at Judge Gedney and asked him why he didn't fall. Alden further remarked that it was an odd providence of God to allow these creatures to accuse innocent persons. During her examination, Elizabeth Howe stated, "If it was the last moment I was to live, God knows I am innocent of anything of this nature." When also urged to confess, Howe exclaimed, "You would not have me confess that which I do not know." One of the magistrates retorted with a mixture of sarcasm and pun, "That is strange that you should do these things and not be able to tell how." During her examination, the girls appeared to have fresh bruises and scratches. Ann Putnam Jr. even had a pin stuck in her hand. The touch test relieved the girls of their torments, and consequently, Goody Howe was held for trial. Marblehead's Wilmot Reed was known to be a cranky or grouty woman. She often wished ill on neighbors' children by hoping that a bloody cleaver would be found in their cradles. William Proctor insisted on his innocence, as all did that day. It is believed that he was then painfully bound by neck and heels, not a usual practice at the time, in order to remain tied up for 24 hours or until he confessed. The strain he suffered was so bad that after bleeding from his nose, an unnamed person mercifully untied him. Another court spectator that day made an interesting observation. It seemed to him that the social, political, economic, and/or religious status didn't matter when it came to who the girls accused. Even clergy and upstanding citizens were being accused. It seemed no one was safe from the powers of evil. John and Elizabeth Proctor, Suzanne Martin, Alice Parker, Rebecca Nurse, Bridget Bishop, John Willard, Tituba, and Sarah Good were transferred back to Salem Prison from Boston for their trials at the court of Oyer and Terminer. Judge John Richards asked Cotton Mather for advice on how to proceed with the witch trials. Mather advised against several practices, including putting too much weight on the credibility of spectral evidence, torturing confessions from the accused, reciting the Lord's Prayer as evidence of innocence, and using the death penalty in every case. Hathorne and Corwin heeded none of this advice. On June 2nd, preliminary testimony started at 8 a.m. Around 10 a.m., 9 women and Surgeon John Barton conducted physical examinations of Rebecca Nurse, Alice Parker, Sarah Good, Bridget Bishop, Elizabeth Proctor, and Susanna Martin, looking for witch marks. This was another controversial and questionable practice used in the trials. A witch mark could be any excrescence, a small skin growth such as a mole or skin tag, the purpose of which was for the witch's familiar, which could be a black cat or a small bird, to suck on it for nourishment to go out and do the witch's evil bidding. Bridget Bishop, Elizabeth Proctor, and Rebecca Nurse all had similar excrescence or growths of flesh, which was only later explained as something common to women who had had difficulty during childbirth. There was a second examination at 4 p.m. where the marks appeared to be different on those three women. It was also noted that Susanna Martin's breasts, full and firm that morning, were now all lank and pendant. We can only imagine the embarrassment and humiliation these modest Christian women felt as a result of these intrusive examinations. The trials took place in Salem Townhouse. William Stoughton presided with Sewell, Hathorne, Gedney, and probably Richards and Saltonstall. From the start of Bridget Bishop's trial, things did not go well for her. Bishop had been under suspicion of witchcraft for many years. In fact, she had been previously charged with witchcraft, but released in 1679. Bridget's first husband had passed away, and now she was under suspicion of murdering him. She had fought violently with her abusive second husband, Thomas Oliver, for which she was publicly punished and shamed. Testimony started with Deliverance Hobbs, swearing under oath that Bridget made her sign the devil's book and share in his bloody sacrament. Occurrences from her past, including long-standing quarrels, nightmares about her specters, puppet dolls found in her walls, and the bewitchment of livestock and children, were brought up and used against her. The disasters which seemed to follow disagreements with Bridget seemed all too many to be coincidences. The jury found Bridget Bishop guilty and sentenced her to death. She was the first to be convicted based solely on spectral evidence and hearsay.
This video was produced with special permission from the author, Marilyn K. Roach, and publisher, Cooper Square Press. The Salem Witch Trials, a day-by-day chronicle of a community under siege, covers the years 1692 to 1697 in detail. It also touches briefly on important and relevant events before and after this time. We are proud to carry all of Ms. Roach's books and publications in our museum store. To get a copy for your personal research and enjoyment, please visit www.salemwitchmuseum.com.